Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. If you were to be reductive and dismissive of books written in stream of consciousness, you could say that it's showy, that it's style for style's sake. But in the new novel Mule Boy, there's a reason why it feels like one long sentence. The novel is about a boy who works as a miner in Pennsylvania in 1929 when something goes wrong. And in this interview with NPR's Scott Simon, author Andrew Krivak talks about wanting to write a book that communicated orality, that sounded more like a guy telling you his life story than a writer writing one. More on that and his complicated feelings about the mining industry up ahead.
This message comes from ADP. ADP knows any new technology, any old competitor, any trendy thing, even a trendy thing that everyone knows isn't a great idea, but management just wants us to give it a try for a bit, can change the world of work. So whether it's a last-minute policy change or adding a new company holiday, ADP designs forward-thinking solutions to help businesses take on the next anything. ADP, always designing for people.
Mule Boy is a novel told in what may look like one long, searing sentence. Picking up on New Year's Day, 1929, when Andrew Krivak, 13-year-old son of Slovak immigrants, begins work as what's called a mule boy in a Pennsylvania coal mine. That very day, there is a collapse in the mine, and Andrew survives, but does he ever recover? Andrew Krivak, the author, a National Book Award finalist, joins us now. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the invitation.
Let me ask you to read from your book to take us into this world of the mine.
Sure. And when the miner had brought to the surface all the coal he was expected to mine in a day, he went home, back to the patch to see his wife and his family and to take a bath and to eat his supper. And though the mines were dirty, they were no dirtier than a shop floor or a tannery or a rail yard, and no miner stayed dirty longer than was necessary. The miner worked, but he knew his business, and his business was what lay beneath the earth, and the earth took good care of him if he worked. And John Chibala and Stefan Bozak filled that train of 3 cars in what might have been 2 hours or so, and Wicked and I pulled them away and onto the gangway and down the tracks.
It's a tough way to make a living, and Andrew knows the dangers from his own family, doesn't he?
He does, yes. His father died the same way my grandfather died, my father's father, in 1927 in a collapse. What I wanted to do was to think about what my grandfather might have been through, both in the act of coal mining and then in the collapse that essentially took his life.
I was struck by the line when one of the miners tells Andrew, God may speak Latin, but the angels speak Slovak.
Yeah.
This was a community of immigrants building America, wasn't it?
It's true, yes. I mean, I am the grandson of immigrants who were coal miners. They were miners, and as I say in the novel too, you just didn't pull them off the street. They were made. They knew where to put the dynamite. They knew where the good seams were, and they paid their buddies. They paid the mule boy. And, as my mother used to say that her father would say, I'd rather do this, and I'm really good at it. So it was not easy work, but this is what these men did.
Tell us about this trio that is caught together in the collapse. John Chibala, Stefan Bozak, and a mule named Wicked, who becomes his own character.
So John Chibala and Stefan Bozak, I think I had to have the miners down there. They were the men doing the work and their 2 buddies. And the Mule Boy was almost a way in which I could get the character of Andrew Krivak in there and have him move around, give him the job to do. And so the trio, essentially, they know their work. And the mules were more valuable than the mule boys, and also pretty hard to take care of. And so I wanted Andrew Krivak and Wicked the mule to have that relationship, which is slightly more than men to boys. He understands the mule because the 2 of them both have had hard lives.
We hear Andrew's story, of course, because he survives and is able to go on. But as he grows up, are there ghosts walking through his life?
The ghosts are there all the time. The novel actually takes place in the 24-hour period in which Andrew Krivak is an old man in a place far away from the Pennsylvania mines. He's living in a house in New Hampshire. And It's this stream of consciousness, call it what you will. I wanted to get as close as I could to storytelling as an oral storytelling rather than as a written one. So the entire book is almost a meditation, if you will, of Andrew Krivak, thinking about all those people who have come to him over the years to ask, what did you do? What did you fail to do? And it's the one day where he's thinking this through, waiting for the one person that he really wants to come, waiting for her to show up. I mean, all my life, I heard stories about the mines from my grandmothers. I never met my grandfathers, but I feel like I knew them my entire life. And
of course, your Aunt Genevieve.
My Aunt Genevieve, yes. She's the last of my father's siblings, 95. And she is the same way. She was 6 months in my grandmother's belly when her father died. And she has said that. I never met my father, but I knew him my entire life through the stories. And really, I'm only a writer because of the stories I heard from my grandmothers.
I refer to it as one long sentence, which is not only technically wrong, but maybe forbidding. On the other hand, you open the book, that's what it looks like. What is it in your mind?
I don't really have a word for what I'm trying to do. What I want to do is try to approximate the breadth of oral storytelling. I wondered, how would this look if I just used commas throughout the novel, in which essentially Andrew Krivak was inhaling and exhaling as he told his story.
Is Andrew consumed by what we would now maybe call a mixture of gratitude and survivor's guilt?
I think gratitude comes at the end. Yes, at the end of the story, the evening, finally. You know, Aristotle said tragedy should happen in a 24-hour period. Survivor's guilt, I think, is why he's struggled so hard his whole life. But in that other mountainous place, well, I hope the only thing that comes across is that he is living a life of gratitude because he's realized that he's had to live this life in order to tell the story of those who have not survived as long as he has.
And as we note, the trauma is inescapable. He drinks so much, he loses more.
Right.
But he finds solace in the book of Jonah and Shakespeare. What does he find there?
He starts reading Shakespeare when he's in college studying engineering because that's what he was supposed to do. And he hears of plays in which men and women struggle. And he thinks, yes, I know what that is like. And in the book of Jonah, it's Jacobson, the man he's in prison with, who teaches him Hebrew because he's got time. That's all they've got is time. And you could think of this as a retelling of the Jonah story, but I've always wondered about that lack of ending at the ending of the very short Jonah story. Andrew is there as well, underneath his tree, understanding but still not yet understanding.
You know, early in my repertorial career, I did stories with miners when mines were closing, and they were mad. They lost what were good-paying jobs, and also their lives and livelihoods, and I think what we'd now call their sense of identity. And I want to respect the loss they felt, but reading your book did not make me regret that the mining industry is diminished.
You know, my grandfathers, the work they did, I've been down in mines, and I felt oddly a strange comfort in there, and I got a sense of understanding what work they did, but at the same time, it killed them both. And not just them, but hundreds of thousands of men. So I would let that doubleness sit there.
Andrew Krivak, his new novel, Mule Boy. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it.
This message comes from Jerry. Are you tired of your car insurance rate going up, even with a clean driving record? That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/NPR today.
This message comes from Charles Schwab with their original podcast, Choiceology. Choiceology is a show about the psychology and economics behind people's decisions. Download the latest episode and subscribe at schwab.com/podcast.
This message comes from KeyBank. Scaling a successful business takes more than just grit. It takes the right relationship. KeyBank pairs the right strategy with the right financial tools to keep your business moving forward. KeyBank opens doors. More at key.com/B2B.